Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling something that affects every single one of us, this constant tug of war between our desire for progress and the health of our planet. We've achieved so much, but we're starting to realize that all that progress came with a pretty hefty price tag. It's kind of ironic, right? The most powerful, most intelligent species on the planet is also the most dangerous to it. Our own actions have the power to make these massive and often irreversible changes to the world we depend on. And that's really the heart of the issue, isn't it? This trade-off we've been making. The very development that has pulled millions of people from poverty has simultaneously chipped away at the quality of our environment. So what exactly is this price we're paying? Well, that forces us to ask a pretty heavy question. How do we keep building a better life for people without bankrupting the natural systems that make any life at all possible? So to really get a grip on this crisis, we've got to start with the basics. What do we even mean when we say the environment? What are the critical jobs it's doing for us, day in and day out, mostly for free? You know, when we hear environment, our minds usually jump to the living stuff, the plants and animals, the biotic parts. But that's only half the story. It's also the non-living, abiotic things, the air we breathe, the water we drink, the very soil under our feet. It's the whole package, everything we've inherited. A good way to think about it is like a silent, super powerful support system. First, it supplies all our resources, everything from wood to oil. Second, it cleans up our mess, absorbing our waste. Third, it holds the entire web of life together. And fourth, it even provides us with beauty and inspiration. But, and this is a huge but, there's a catch. This natural system works beautifully, but it has its limits. Scientists call this the carrying capacity. You can only push it so far, you can only take so much before things start to break down. For pretty much all of human history, our demand for resources was way smaller than what the planet could easily supply. But in just the last century or so, we've completely flipped that script. Now, our demand is outstripping supply, and the waste we're producing is overwhelming the planet's ability to absorb it. We're running a massive ecological deficit. To see what this looks like in the real world, when all these pressures come together, let's zoom in. India's story is a really powerful example of this global challenge. Okay, just let this number sink in for a second. 70%. That is a staggering amount of India's water that's considered polluted. And this isn't some abstract problem. It's a full-blown health crisis, causing a huge spike in diseases and putting immense strain on public health. And you can see why the pressure is just so immense when you look at these numbers. India is home to about 17% of all the people on Earth, but it's working with only 2.5% of the world's land area. That math creates this intense daily struggle over every single resource. And then there's this. I mean, look at this explosion. From just 300,000 vehicles back in 1951 to a mind-boggling 350 million by 2022. It's no wonder that air pollution in the cities has become such a massive problem. So India's in this really tricky spot. It's facing a dual threat, a real two-front war, if you will. On one side, you have environmental damage that comes from poverty, like cutting down forests for firewood. And on the other, you have the pollution that comes from new industries and wealthier lifestyles. So that leads us to the biggest question of all, right? How do you break this cycle? How can you have growth and development without it leading to environmental destruction? Well, the answer, or at least the best one we have, means we have to completely change the way we think about progress. We need to talk about something called sustainable development. So what does that actually mean? The classic definition boils down to two really crucial ideas. First, meeting the needs of people alive today. And second, doing it in a way that doesn't screw over future generations and their ability to meet their own needs. It's about being good ancestors. And let's be super clear here. This isn't just about saving the rainforest or the polar bears, as important as that is. At its very core, sustainable development is about people. It's about fairness. It's about making sure the world's poorest people get a real shot at a better life. Okay, so that all sounds great in theory, right? But what does it look like in practice? How do we actually do it? Let's get into some real-world strategies. A massive piece of the puzzle is simply switching to smarter fuels. In rural areas, that means moving away from burning wood and dung, which cause deforestation and awful indoor pollution, to cleaner options like LPG or gobar gas. In the cities, it's about shifting from polluting diesel and petrol to much cleaner compressed natural gas, or CNG. And it's also about tapping into the clean power that's all around us. For a sunny country like India, solar power is a no-brainer. Same with wind power along its long coastlines. And in hilly areas, small-scale mini-hydro plants can use the power of rivers to generate electricity without the huge environmental damage of massive dams. You know, it's funny. Sometimes the most advanced solutions are actually ancient. Instead of fighting nature with harsh chemicals, we can work with it. Things like using worms to create amazing compost, using natural pesticides from the neem tree, and protecting animals like birds and snakes that eat the pests for us. It's about being smart, not just strong. And that really leaves us with a final, tough question to chew on. Is a project a success if it creates jobs for a few thousand people, but pollutes the water source for 1 million? It forces us to look past the easy economic numbers and ask about the real human cost of our choices. That's the balance we have to find.